Hi, my name's Alexa and welcome to my TED Talk. So for this Genius Hour Inquiry project, I decided to focus on researching how yoga and meditation could help me in terms of my mental well-being and mental health and just dealing with stress in a healthy way. So to start this project, I decided to research different apps and websites that I could use that could give me information that would be useful because I didn't really know where to start. I'd practiced yoga occasionally before, but I'd never gotten into it seriously, and that's kind of what I wanted to use this project for. So what I did first is I looked at meditation apps because I was more familiar. So there were two that I decided to use, but I focused more on the one throughout my 4-week journey. So I chose Headspace as the app, and one thing that's worth mentioning is that Headspace doesn't have a lot of free meditations. You have to pay for a decent amount of them, but for the most part it's a pretty good app to use because they do have a lot of trial versions that you can use, and basic packs is what they're called, and it's guided meditation. So that was really useful for me because I didn't really know where to start or what to do when I was meditating. So I focused on Headspace a lot, and I used that app throughout the 4 weeks. And I tried to make sure that I was meditating every single morning, and then sometimes I would do it before bed too. And then for yoga, initially I was just going to go to a yoga studio nearby my house, but then I wanted to save money, and I also wanted it to be more easily accessible and more of a routine. So I didn't want to do it just like 3 times a week. I wanted to implement it into my everyday. So I found a website, 30 Days of Yoga with Adriene, and she has a YouTube channel too, so I just ended up watching her videos and following along with them throughout the 4 weeks. And I found that really helpful because, again, it gave me like a step-by-step on how to do certain poses or like what my form should look like, and she was very encouraging to keep me on track and make sure I was doing it every single day. I found that after the first week, it was really hard for me to get into this routine. I really struggled with school and like staying on top of my schoolwork and then making time and prioritizing. I found myself putting the Genius Hour Inquiry on a back burner so that I could focus on other things, or I would just make excuses. And then it wasn't until halfway through the second week that I finally realized that like I needed to focus on the Genius Hour Inquiry, and then that's when I started implementing it every day. A strategy that I used that helped me to stay on task was creating a calendar. I made a little calendar that just I could fill in bubbles to say whether or not I did yoga or meditation that day, and that visually just reminded me every day that I needed to do it, and I felt more compelled to complete the yoga and meditation. And then as I went along, it didn't really feel as much like a task or a chore. I like looked forward to it. So some things that I learned throughout this project were that when I was practicing yoga and meditation routinely, and I really stuck to it every single day, it helped reduce my stress levels. Practicing yoga, I was able to improve my flexibility as well as get my body moving, which was nice because I would start my day more energized and I would feel more centered, like I had more control over things that were happening in my life, especially different stressors that I was experiencing. And that was a big part of why I wanted to do this Genius Hour Inquiry, is because I wanted to learn healthier ways to cope with different stressors in my life. So I found that yoga and doing it every day really helped me with that. And I also thought that I wasn't being active enough in my daily life, and so it gave me an opportunity to move my body and reflect on everything that I had like experienced that day, and it just helped me feel better overall. And then meditation was a really big help for me in dealing with stress because I felt like I was more capable and more able to deal with different stressful situations because I got that time to reflect and think about the experiences in a different kind of perspective. So I felt like meditating in the morning gave me a clear focus on what I was going to do throughout the day, and I felt more rejuvenated as I went through the day. And then doing it before bed gave me an opportunity to kind of think about everything that happened during that day and how I was going to move forward for the next day. So it helped me be more focused and in tune with what I really needed from my days. and what wasn't as important to focus on. So when I think about how I'm going to implement the Genius Hour inquiry process in the future, especially in my own classroom, I feel like it can be very beneficial to students of any age and any level. I think that it's really important to give students an opportunity to focus in on something that they're passionate about and give them an outlet to express that. And I think that having the process scaffolded like we did, where we had to do weekly reflections and show our learning and end up doing a presentation at the end to explain how everything went for us and what we learned and our experience, is all really important. And I think that students could easily do the same thing, and the scaffolding portion of it is very important, especially for those students that have a hard time staying on track. And I know that I for sure would have benefited from having somebody checking in on me, possibly just so that I felt like I had more support throughout the process. So I feel like even with students, you could do this project in pairs, and maybe they would feel more supported or more confident with staying on task and sticking to their guidelines and their plan and their project. So I definitely think that this is something I would want to include in my classroom. And in the future, as far as my own Genius Hour project, I feel like I'm going to keep doing yoga and I'm going to keep meditating as much as I can, because even though it was only 4 weeks, I saw such a big difference in my life and how I felt about different experiences and how I was able to cope with stress. And I think that that's something that I want to continue, and it was really positive for me. Thanks for watching my TED Talk.